If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
We stand for Queen,
country, and video games. BRB UK.
Worse teeth,
better accents.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, or whatever good time it is that you are here and listening to us. Thank you very much for joining us. This is episode 312 of the BigRedBarel UK podcast. Regular listeners, or irregular ones that pay attention, will kind of already notice that I am not Dan, and I am also not Coleman. I am your third host, third choice in hostage. But I have also dragged in two people with me. Don't worry, you don't have to listen to 60 minutes of my waffling nonsense. I've also dragged two people in here to actually deliver some sense and give us some good gaming knowledge. Too long absence for both of these people. Kev, nice to have you back, sir.
Hello, I cannot guarantee good knowledge.
You have good knowledge of things and stuff. All the frame rates and all them things.
Yes, I have lots of knowledge of the frame rates. That's what I'm best known for, in fact.
And we also have Mr. Bleezey. Hello and welcome, sir.
What up? The ban's been lifted. Hooray.
You had no ban. You had no ban. You're good. You're good.
That said, good gaming knowledge is going on my CV. It's like, you're now a reference for me.
I'll credit you on LinkedIn for good gaming knowledge.
And talking.
And talking into microphones. Even if your own voice in your own head is not the same voice that we're hearing now.
Do you know, I was going to go there, but you got there first.
I got there first, yeah. I did say it might come up in the episode, and by might, I mean definitely would. Just before the episode, Bleezey revealed that he hears a woman's voice in his head when he's internally thinking.
Hold on. That is making it sound far worse than it is.
Okay, well, to be fair, it was a random woman's voice I didn't particularly recognise the name of. I might if you told me again, but I was a bit too busy being distracted by the whole woman's voice in your head thing.
Hold on. It is the radio announcer for Horizon Pulse, because I have listened to that a lot recently.
Okay, at least it's gaming related and makes a bit more sense.
It's not just a random woman.
Oh, it'd be so much better if it was, though.
You're going to cut out the bit where I explained it rationally.
Zero context, that's the BigRedBarel way.
It's just going to be cut really badly going, it is a random woman.
There's no need now, you've said it for us. He's going to smooth that bit out and make it sound even more natural. Edit that in harder, Coleman.
It is a random woman.
It's just the way he came into this, ladies and gents, was he said, "So you guys know how when you think to yourself, it doesn't sound like you."
It's not your. I'm like, it doesn't sound like anything, Bleezey. I have that's an internal thought process. I don't have a talking in a monologue.
I'm really glad I came back, guys.
It's good to have you back, Bleezey. It really is.
I must admit, I've missed Bleezey.
Yeah, no. Any amount of time spent away from you, Bleezey, is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I am entertaining for all.
Well, look, it's good to have both of you along this week because we're a bit shy on news.
Nothing's going on.
Well, I've got three things to talk about myself, so that could possibly take up the whole, 60 minutes if we wanted to, but let's face it, no one really wants that.
I agree.
I was just going to add on a 30-minute section at the end where I just chat about my thoughts, and I feel like that's a show there.
You can do it while giving an impression of the voice that you're currently hearing in your head. That will qualify as audio gold, so that's fine.
Bleezey, what's the Horizon Pulse lady saying right now?
Is she telling you to kill?
I just really want to listen to some nice tunes right now.
Well, we will definitely be coming on to Horizon. I keep on going to kill it Horizon Zero something and then realise the zero's not in the title of this game.
Horizon 0+4.
Horizon 04, yeah.
Yeah, but we do have some some news, mainly through leaks. There doesn't seem to be anyone announcing anything too noteworthy this week, just things being leaked and rumoured. And one of those big rumours this week is apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal,
the one Wall Street Journal.
One journo
you know the
on
one.
Wall Street. That guy.
He also thinks in a woman's voice.
Anyway,
He is the Horizon Pulse lady.
the rumour, according to the Wall Street Journal, is that Nintendo will be launching a new Switch sometime next year. Now, it's one of those things where they claim to have some knowledge that leads to this, but it's a bit of a no-brainer to me. The timing is right for a new console next year. They also need to update and they're actually, I think, behind the schedule of what I thought would be an accelerated timeline due to, and no one seems to have mentioned this, but in talking and discussing about this news, but there was a lot of talk about the fact that the original model that's out there now has been hacked, and putting out a hardware revision is the only way to circumnavigate the problem long term. So I would have thought they would have already got to a hardware revision. Betting on one being next year, I think, is a fairly safe bet.
I can't disagree with that. It's name a console that doesn't get a refresh a couple of years down the line.
How long's it been out yet?
I think it was not last year, year before, but only just. Is that right?
It's usually the 2-3 year mark. That's when they'll have like the slightly slimmer version or whatever.
Look, Nintendo are pretty famous for doing this with all their handhelds. They tend not to do it with their consoles. So a lot of people were kind of going, well, will they do the same as they do with their handhelds, or do the same as they do with their consoles? And I think it makes sense, especially with that whole hardware hack that's gone on, that there will be a revision to the hardware next year. The problem, I think, for Nintendo, and why they possibly couldn't do it any earlier than that, is that they need to make a considerable offering to get people to upgrade. There needs to be a reason of, oh, I want that, other than I kind of like not stupid coloured controllers on my console, possibly, which is the only reason that I'd have to upgrade at the moment. But they need to give people a significant reason to upgrade, and I don't see what reason they can give at the moment.
They won't. If they do a refresh now, it'll be to get more people on board. It won't be to get people to upgrade from one Switch to another.
But that's always a significant part of their plans, and it does help grease the wheels of putting a new thing out there, and then it also floods the market with second-hand consoles for other people to pick up on the cheap, so it helps a secondary market as well. So I think that will be part of their thinking in their upgrades. It usually is. There is usually a defining feature for why you would want this one over the other one. And look, one thing they can definitely do, which will be a vast improvement, and I will be very surprised if it isn't the case, is a significantly improved battery life. The other thing, and the thing they discussed in the Wall Street Journal, was a thinner, brighter screen. I don't know about you guys and your interaction with the Switch, but I have no real problems with the handheld version of this console. Like, I can't see the need for a thinner, brighter screen.
Never used one, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, so I have no opinion one way or the other.
I am fine with it in handheld mode. The one thing I think they could do, and that could placate some of the people that have already picked up the console and not feel like they're getting gypped in any way, which doesn't help the secondary market I was just mentioning, but is a different tact and different approach. I'd be interested to see if they do go with this approach, is instead of upgrading the console, or significantly upgrading the console, putting out an upgraded console that also comes with an upgraded dock, but then selling that upgraded dock separately as something that you can buy as an upgrade. And the only real difference on the actual console side will be a improved battery life and, you know, maybe thinner and sleeker in some aspects, but generally just a improved battery life, but the dock's better, so you want to buy this version over the old version. And then, as I said, people that have the existing console can just upgrade their dock and then possibly get better resolution, better upscaling. I'm not sure exactly what that could do, but if they could do something on that side of things that would make sense, then that's something I'd be very open to as a existing Switch owner, basically.
I find that unlikely. I think if they're going to go in one direction with it, and it'll sound stupid straight away, but I think they could increase the size of the screen of the handheld device, and then that would give people who want a bigger screen, more hand control area, what they want. It would be like the 3DS 3DS XL from the 3DS. You know, increasing the size actually made it a much more comfortable.
Well, there's a lot of rumours that they'll do the opposite to that, though. We'll make a more compact mini version.
Well, I mean, you can still go thinner if you increase the screen real estate. And the advantage of increasing the size is when you talk about battery life, you could strap a bigger battery to it. So, I don't know. Shrinking it, I don't see the point. There's very little purpose to that.
I don't get that myself.
Thinner and lighter, absolutely. Why not? Different spec docks, I don't see happening because Nintendo are terrified of change and the idea of fragmenting their fan base and fragmenting their game development so they have to target different specs. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but it could just do, upgrade it, like a better job of upscaling and not have to be, it could be hardware dependent or really software dependent, possibly, no? Like, you might have to program for it a bit, but...
It depends what they're doing, what the dock's doing already. If it's already upscaling games, then sure. But I don't think it is. It's just, I think everything renders in 1080 and displays in 1080, doesn't it? I guess they could give the dock the ability to upscale to 4K, but
yeah, I'm fairly sure at the moment that it's on a lower resolution when it's running in handheld mode.
Oh no, I know that, but you're talking about the dock, aren't you? So
yes, but then when you put it into the dock, I think the dock handles some of that upscaling. Possibly, I don't know. It might just be a dummy unit that it just passes it through, but.
I'm not sure. I've got to be honest, I'm not really sure what the hardware specs are on the Switch. I haven't paid much attention, but I know things perform better in the dock typically, so I think there is a little boost there.
Well, the other possibility is that they go the other way with it and sell a handheld version of the Switch without the dock, and thereby lessening the entry price to it, possibly. But I still expect them to do a hardware revision of some description because of the hack that took place before, basically. So, as I said, I think it's a fairly safe bet that we'll get a new console next year. Okay, one thing from you two as non-Switch owners.
I've said nothing because I know nothing about Nintendo.
Okay, but this is why I'm bringing you guys into the conversation a bit more. What would inspire you to buy a Switch at this point, especially from a hardware standpoint or software, if there's a particular piece of software that's just, would appeal to you guys, basically?
Halo. It'll never happen, but Halo. I don't know. I've been trying to think about it. It's one of my main problems because I wasn't raised on Nintendo consoles, the button layout, it just feels incredibly non-intuitive to me.
The amount of times going from A to B on different consoles, it says press A and I'm pressing the completely wrong button because I'm just used to the console I was playing before.
Yeah, like when we played Mario Kart at EGX, we were just hanging out and we played Mario Kart on the Switch. I had no idea what any of the buttons were, and where I'd go and go, oh yeah, this would make sense for it to be accelerate. It's not. And I had a generally kind of tried to make the most of it, but wasn't having a lot of fun because everyone else was really good, and I was just sat at the back going, I might finish the race. Who knows?
Yeah, you were playing against some fairly experienced Mario Karters, so, don't feel too bad. And I got my butt kicked by someone else who was there, so I'm not even, showing off of that, but, But anyway, Kev, for you, is there anything that would pull you into buying a Switch at the moment, or are you just not ever going to be sold on?
Like many things in life, here's the thing, is I've never liked the 3D Mario games, so Mario Odyssey hasn't really...
Neither do I don't own it. I did play it on Coleman's Switch, but I don't actually own a copy myself.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad game, but I just, it's never none of those have ever catered to my tastes.
Yeah, it's a very good game made not for me.
Yeah. Breath of the Wild, I've already played on Wii U.
Okay.
And I wasn't a massive fan of it anyway. Again, not a bad game, but just not. I don't think it deserves the praise it got from the world. What else is there that Nintendo offers? I don't know. And then at that point, it's like, oh, they've got Bayonetta 3 coming out.
Yes.
And I want to play that. I love both the first two Bayonetta games. I want to play the third.
Yeah, I nearly bought 1 and 2 the other day.
Yeah, the thing with me for Switch is just there's not enough there to make me want to buy it outright. But if I had a massive amount of cash that I didn't have anything better to do with, for me it's like a tattoo, right? I'm not opposed to ever getting a tattoo, but every time I've ever had money for a tattoo,
passionate about, and the spare money.
That's it. Every time I've ever had money to get a tattoo, I've been like, I could do this instead, though. Yeah, and I want that more.
That's actually like a really apt description of how I feel as well. Actually, it's like I'm not specifically like, oh no, I never want to get a Nintendo thing. It's just I can't warrant the price, and at the point that I could warrant the price, there's not enough that's winning me over.
Well. I don't know about you, Bleezey, but Kev, I think you're actually wrong on that, and I'll tell you why very quickly. Because we're a bit over time on this topic.
You should get a tattoo.
Well, no, you should get a tattoo because what you want is to just be on brand and just go with a big red barrel all the way down your back. No. Right. When it comes to the Nintendo Switch, I don't play Nintendo games on my Nintendo Switch. All I play is indie games. The only like Nintendo related property that I've really played on my actual own Switch is Mario and Rabbids, and I think you'll like that because it's basically Mario XCOM.
Yeah, I've seen that. Again, it's not something I'm actively against. I'd probably play it if I had a Switch. I just need to get a Switch.
Into the Breach was fantastic on the Switch.
Fantastic. Yeah, but I could play that on PC.
I know. But there's just a lot of games that I know that you would like and enjoy. Are the games that I'm playing on the Switch, basically.
Do you know, for me, I think it comes down to lifestyle. And last year, and actually next year, I have been and will be in positions where a handheld console is going to be really useful.
Kind of
okay. Because I'll have my night shift job back again doing duty management at the place that I do duty management at. And most of that job, it was a 10-hour shift, and 8 hours of that is not really doing much other than sitting at a desk. So I got a hell of a lot of stuff done, games and otherwise, last year when I was doing that. And the thing is, right now I'm on my placement year for uni, and I'm basically like web design or web development for flipping 5 days a week. Then I'm working at the other place on the weekends. And when I get home, I'm sat on my PC, so I'm not going to pick up a bloody Switch if I've got my PC in front of me, am I?
Well, yeah, okay, that's true. But where the Switch really comes into its own for me, I don't even travel with it that much. It's really good for me second screening. So I know you don't tend to watch as much sports, but it's really good for me like playing games while watching football, and just generally, yeah.
I've got a very specifically designed man cave where
it doesn't cater for those needs.
I've got 3 screens in front of me right now, one of which can play a game and the other 2 can have like Spotify and Netflix.
Nice.
That's the dream.
Living the dream.
I second screen all the time. I only just turned Destiny 2's music on the other day for the first time ever because it always got in the way of me watching Netflix shows.
Well, talking of I was going to go for magic and TV, and none of that really flows. But anyway, I'll move on to the next bit of news. I've been looking for a segue for a while and haven't found one, and I've stumbled into nothing there, and we're going with it. Okay, gentlemen, we're going with it. Right, yeah, anyone that didn't see the Harry Potter footage leaked this week, basically, and it looked kind of very... I'm trying to think of a word rather than visceral, but it looked very kind of... action-packed and kind of gritty kind of thing, especially for Harry Potter. It basically almost looked like a first-person shooter with wands. But yeah, apparently it has been confirmed this footage is real. I think part of the confirmation there is that Warner Brothers actually issued a takedown of the footage and it's been removed. So that seems to possibly indicate that was true. There were also rumours flying around at the time that this was being developed by Rocksteady, partly just based on the fact that we just don't know what Rocksteady are doing, and obviously they work hand in hand with Warner Brothers and have done so on the Arkham series previously. But yeah, that seems to not be the case. It seems to not be Rockstar that was working on it. I think the latest rumour is that it's Avalanche, possibly. But yeah, I don't know how well that's been confirmed at the moment. But yeah, what did you guys think? And do you care about Harry Potter?
So I've never been a Harry Potter fan. It's been more my sister's area of expertise. We have very conflicting interests.
I'm surprised by that, you being millennial. Do you just not like it because your sister liked it?
A little bit. Like, say, she's got Doctor Who, she's got Twilight, she's got a lot of things that I could not care less about. And
Bleezey, you just can't go around the internet just claiming that Harry Potter's for girls. That's going to get people upset.
That's not what I'm saying at all. However, yes, Harry Potter is for girls. No, it's
exactly what I said not to say, Bleezey.
It's never been my kind of thing.
Right.
I did watch the footage, and basically I did like the pun that basically every news site used on it, where it was just like, the footage looks magical, get it? And I did actually have a giggle every time I saw one of those puns. Generally, it's kind of, I know my sister would love it, and it's not for me. You phrasing it as a Harry Potter first-person shooter with wands was possibly the most excited I got over it.
It doesn't look like it's a first-person shooter, it's third-person action game.
Yeah, well, and then pretty much I remembered the footage, and then I went, oh yeah,
I meant more third-person shooter, but yeah.
It looks good, though.
Yeah, it looks, more entertaining than if I'd have just seen the words Harry Potter game released, kind of, new Harry Potter game type thing. It's one of those things where it kind of makes me wonder, and it often does with leaks these days, whether this was an actual leak or whether it was something to lay the ground for further excitement for when this does get announced. I don't know if I'm just too cynical there, but yeah.
Well, it does kind of scream like when Deadpool 1 got announced, it was the Blur cinematic that got, quote, leaked. And then everyone was like, oh my god, this is so good, why wouldn't you have it and stuff? And then like a couple months later, they were like, oh yeah, we are making a Deadpool film. And it's already really far in production, actually. And so, it does kind of scream a little bit like that just because of the quality that was in it.
Oh, it's almost the opposite for me. This looked almost as if it was deliberately kind of, we'll show it off looking good, but let's not make the footage look too good kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I can't believe you guys still care about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm just saying. As I said, I'm more interested in the possible fact that like manufacturing leaks these days than I am in some of the contents of the leaks.
Maybe I'm the most cynical person here.
Yeah, possibly. But
I just assume all marketing is cynical at this point.
Well, exactly.
If I see a leak, I'm like, well, that probably was intended. Who cares?
But I mean, look, there are a lot of Harry Potter fans in the world. I am not the most major one. I read all the books. I liked all the books. I kind of was okay with most of the movies. I don't care that much, kind of thing.
I watched the one with the big spiders in it, and that's when I checked out.
Because you don't do spiders.
No, I don't. Well,
is that because the girl's voice in your head tells you to be scared of them?
Whoa. It's not just girls that are scared of spiders, Tim. Come on. It's 2018. How dare you say that?
You ever been to Australia?
Everyone is scared of spiders.
Yeah, well, everyone is rightly scared of spiders there. They'll kill you. Speaking of things killing it, see, that's a really bad segue as well. This makes no sense.
Speaking of giant spiders.
Off Dan. Speaking of giant spiders, how about something else you'd like to put on your face?
Oh, God, no.
Careful where you go with this one.
No, but anyone that doesn't know, we're just going to mention it quickly because we'll save most of the talk for VRB, which will be making a triumphant return now that Kev is all healed from his injuries. And we didn't really cover that, but we'll save that for VRB as well, Mr. Kev.
Yeah. What a tease.
Yeah. Talking of entertaining stories. But for anyone didn't see, OC5 was this week. This is the big kind of Oculus yearly event, and they usually save their big announcements. And anyone didn't know, we knew about something called Oculus Santa Cruz, which was the kind of code name for the product, but it's been properly announced now as the Oculus Quest. It is kind of one step up from the Oculus Go. Oculus Go being the kind of entry-level headset. This is the kind of medium headset that kind of is comparable with the Rift, but is also wireless and not tethered to a computer in any way, basically. So, yeah, this is all in one unit. As I said, we won't cover it too much, but I think the American price was $399. I don't know about you guys. I was half planning on getting myself a Go for Christmas. I now may wait for this, I think, probably. But yeah, I don't know how much you care.
I've got an actual Oculus Rift.
Yeah, so you don't need one so much, and Bleezey, you just don't care, no?
It's VR is like the Switch. It's if I had a load of money, but from what I've seen, it's not enough to sell me. They don't have a Halo game on it.
In Bleezey's defense, when I bought my Oculus, it was because I just got my student loan in that day.
That's why I bought an Xbox One.
To spend something.
I got my student loan and I went, let's go buy one. And I bought Titanfall as well. And then I didn't leave my room for a week.
It'd be interesting to see how much console purchases go up in the week where everyone gets their student loans.
I bet it's a lot. That and the Apple Store.
Yeah, it'd be funny to see massive spikes in sales. Right, well, anyway, in that case, we will move on. As I said, we'll save a bit more talk of AC5 for VRB, which is hopefully coming in the next week or so. But yeah, moving on, we will go on to points of interest. So this is slightly quicker news. Anyone that didn't see, Sony leaked the PS Plus games for November a little bit early. They don't usually tell us this early in the month.
Now, was it a leak? Or was it
a leak? But yeah, this is one of those things where we wouldn't normally report on a rumour, but this did come by the way of an advert on PlayStation.com. So that's a fairly reliable resource, even though they possibly didn't actually mean to put the information out there. The good news is that the two headline games are pretty good for November. You get Bulletstorm, the full clip edition, which came out recently, is the re-release version of Bulletstorm.
That game holds up. It's still amazing.
Yeah, a game I enjoyed greatly.
My
and
friend got top 20
to
in the world on one of those Echo maps.
Oh, it's so good. I spent so long in that game, like going back and doing high scores and stuff. And yeah, it got a lot of bad press for the dick tits kind of controversy. But yeah, it was a really good game. Like, I really enjoyed the storytelling and I really enjoyed the gameplay. Basically,
I can't remember any of it apart from a giant dinosaur. But I can't remember the context because
that was such a cool
wasn't it in
part,
space? Though.
It was in a no. There was like. Do you need
to remember more than that, Bleezey?
There's a model city as well that you're running through while the giant dinosaur is. So it's kind of like a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, and then you're in a helicopter, and
I think there's a bit on the side of a building as well. And
there's a lot of stuff that goes on in that. I don't forgive it. I do not blame anyone for forgetting what happened, because it's one of those games that's like, well, that was a mind-blowing moment, and then the next 10 seconds go past. That was a mind-blowing moment.
I'm now getting confused between, am I thinking of Bulletstorm or am I thinking of Borderlands? Because the art styles are kind of similar, and I'm like, did you kick people into cactuses in Borderlands, or was it Bulletstorm?
No, that wasn't in Borderlands, that was definitely Bulletstorm. You kick people into lots of things.
It's set pieces galore, and the combat system, like especially the combo system that's part of the combat, is so much fun.
Well, the fact that that's got like a whole like arcadey high score loop to it as well, like when you play it through again on the different levels, yeah, really good. Anyway, and the other game is Yakuza Kiwami, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Again, good news. I don't know about you guys. Yakuza's one of those series I'm like, I haven't given that enough time in my life. And I heard this game was good and a good point to jump into again, because I believe this is a remake of the first one, if that's what I'm thinking of correctly. But anyway, this got highly praised, and yeah, getting it for free means I might actually play it. So good. 2 games I'm glad to get. Yeah.
I thought that with Dead Rising though, and I now have Dead Rising 1, 2, and I think 3, and I've played none of them.
Well, we can blame you for their studio going out of existence. All your fault.
Oh no, I feel bad.
All those people out of jobs, just in time for Christmas. It's not really just in time for Christmas, but you know, I just thought I'd lay that on you. Anyway, talking of things that will happen just in time for Christmas. Hey, I found a good segue. I did it, guys. It's okay.
Yeah.
On the last chance, we can go home now. That's not true. And me pointing out ruins the segue completely. So consistently rubbish. But yeah, something that should be happening before the end of the year, because it was rumoured that that was the case, and heavily rumoured that name changes are on the way for PS4. This comes via an article on Kotaku, which is claiming a number of sources of game developers have been reporting that they're working on kind of ironing out any bugs and kind of making sure that Sony's plans for editing usernames will be compatible with their games going forward. So, I don't know about you guys. I'm happy with my name. I know people have been complaining about this for years, and lots of people have been shouting and campaigning about it. And all power to you if you chose a stupid name and you wouldn't need to change it. I can understand that. Doesn't really affect me, but good news for other people.
Yeah, it's one of those things that should have been there from day one. It's bizarre.
It seems like it's always seemed like an odd thing of why the hell don't you just do that? And there's obviously some big technical problem in the way, but they've obviously found a workaround, or seemingly.
Yeah, I'm just glad it's finally happening, so people will shut up about it. Like you, I mean, I got the name that I wanted, and I've never changed my mind on that.
14-year-old me branded himself pretty well, and I've stuck with it since.
There you go. I do appreciate that. Even if you don't have a name that you hate, like you might just fancy a change. I don't know. People do it on Twitter all the time, right?
Yeah, and if it's a name that you had like a decade or more ago, then I can understand that you might not have named yourself the most sensible name, and that may be something you need to change.
Yeah, totally.
What do you mean? XXX Sniper Headshot 360 No Scope is like the greatest name to have.
That's exactly the name you wanted. It's the name he was born with, the name he'll die with. Yeah, but look, you said it exactly. You summed it up exactly, Kev. Like, I don't care other than people will now shut up about it, but bully for people that, you know, it does good for, all good, but let's move on. Right. Now, we're going to get stuck into what we have done played. What we have done been playing this week. And it's a racing heavy week. I'm going to jump in quickly because I got the chance to see something in preview, so we'll put that ahead. But yeah, I got to go see Dirt Rally 2.0. I was at the launch event for that. We do have a video up on our YouTube channel, which has got an interview with the developer and one of the guys that is one of the test drivers on the game and kind of helping with that. So you can go see more details on that as well. But yeah, anyone doesn't know, Dirt Rally is the kind of more sim-heavy experience. Dirt Rally came out previously. I actually picked it up because it had VR support, and you could actually have your co-driver like as a person in the room, like reading the track to you, so the person in the headset was driving. Quite cool. Anyway, but yeah, like they've announced Dirt Rally 2.0, and it's got like a few new additions. It's definitely more the kind of sim experience, and as I've said all along, and people know from the show, I'm more of an arcadey kind of race driver, but I do like my rally games generally, and to the point where I'll play a sim one, and as I said, I picked up the other one because it was in VR, but they're not necessarily my area of expertise. I'm yet to find my areas of expertise in gaming. Well, maybe puzzle games, but anyway. But yeah, really enjoyable. Looks, you know, fantastic. Really, really like high fidelity graphics. Really looking good. Probably one of the better racing games I've seen, I'd say. I mean, we were playing it on, you know, 4K HDR screens and everything else. I think it was there on the Pro and
looked
PC,
right,
basically. Yeah, it looked really nice. Really nice, I have to say. They were showing off, like, there was a couple of tracks that we could play there. One that you'll see the footage of, I think, in New Zealand, that I was playing on. And then it had another rallycross track as well. As I said, definitely this is a bit more simulation I like. I'm quite liking having a rewind button in Forza. We'll come on to that in a moment, because I kind of need it. I've often said on the show, I don't drive better than most people I know, but I do crash better than most people I know. Like, I did a proper end-over-end crash and this is a very realistic, like, physics engine, so you really have to go some to, like, get the car going end over end, and that was in my first race. But yeah, like, it's it's definitely, yeah, as I said, very sim heavy. They've added a few things like one of the details they've added, and this will tell you like how detailed they're going with everything. They've got track degradation, yeah. So depending where you go in the running order of when you get to do your your time, basically, like if you're really high up, if you're in the 10s or 20s, then you'll get a much smoother run at the track. Whereas if you go much lower down the running order, you'll get a very rutted track that's been sort of, broken up by the racers that have gone before you, and it'll actually be more difficult. And that will be even more difficult if it's in the wet, for instance, because that's, even more pronounced kind of thing. So, it's really kind of going after the very sim heavy market and the kind of that level, and they unashamedly say, look, we're not hand holding at all. If you want the kind of more arcadey experience, there's the major Dirt series for this, but the Dirt Rally one is very much focused on that, and they seem to be doing everything they can to kind of cater for that audience. The big kind of track edition, I say track, I haven't found a better word for this, but they've added a country, basically. They've added Argentina, and there's a selection of tracks within Argentina. I don't know about you guys, I watch a bit of it on TV in terms of rally, but this is one of those things where I gained an interest in doing that from having played the video game. In the interviews with the developer, they misunderstood that for me getting involved with the actual sport through playing the game. I was like, no, don't understand. Don't put a steering wheel in my hand, put a controller. Don't put me near a car. That's a recipe for disaster. But yeah, like, as I said, not entirely my thing. I will still be interested in this if it has VR content, and that's a bit up in the air at the moment. The community is getting a bit like, oh, if this doesn't have VR, I won't buy it, and seemingly complaining about that on a lot of the videos that have been put up on YouTube and stuff. That is very much my case, and I will try and put that forward as nicely as possible. I did tell the devs there at the time that I would like VR. They have said that it's something they can add. It's just something they need enough people to be vocal about to need to add it, kind of thing. So that seems like that might be the case. But yeah, if you're into your sim heavy games or you just like rally games, I strongly suggest looking for it, because it's definitely catering to your needs. Looks really good, plays well. As I said, the Argentine things are quite treacherous. The courses look really narrow and kind of really rocky outcrops either side of you. Again, there's some footage of that in our YouTube video, so check that out on BigRedBarel TV. But yeah, not necessarily entirely in my wheelhouse, if you excuse the pun, but generally a game that is, really highly polished and easy to appreciate, because you can tell how much love and respect for the game and the sports going into it, basically. So yeah, one to keep an eye on, possibly. Again, not something to interest you two guys as much, I don't think, no? But
I'm quite into my rally.
Yeah, you like your rallies as well?
Yeah, I tend to follow the sport more than the games, just because, like, my mum's cousins used to do it over in Ireland, and so I got into it very young. And then it's one of those sports that I'll take like a year out, and then I'll come back, I'll get really into it, and then I'll kind of forget about it again, and then I'll come back. And so like the Dirt Rally games, I've never actually played any of them myself, but like, for example, you saying about the degradation and stuff, that actually sounds really interesting, and I want to give it a go. So I might try and pick it up at some point.
Yeah, I do think, knowing your taste in other things, I think, and if you have an appreciation for rally, then I could see you really liking this, basically. So yeah, possibly worth it. Right, and yeah, well, we could change gears, or we could stay in the same gear and plough on ahead. Should we stay in fourth gear for the moment?
No, I know.
You don't know where I'm going with that, do you? But hey. Yeah, well, look, both Bleezey and I have been playing Forza Horizon on Xbox One, Forza Horizon 4, not Forza Horizon Zero Dawn, as I keep on going to call it. But, yeah, I'll let you lead the way on this one, Bleezey. How have you been finding the game? I think you've probably played a bit more than me as well.
It's perfect. It's so good. Yeah, so, like, just kind of bringing it full circle, the reason that I think in Amy Simpson's voice from Horizon Pulse is because I have put a ridiculous amount of hours into that game so far. I completed the tutorial, I think it was the second night that I had it, and this is with me going to work and stuff, and so that tutorial I got told was like 6 to 7 hours, and I blitzed through it. I've done all the showcase events. I've actually like raced online on it, which for the previous Horizon games I actually kind of steered away from, pun intended. But yeah, I've just had a blast with it, and like every time I get a new car, I'll be honest, I take it on a little lap of the map.
You need to take a car for a spin when you like. I captured some footage for this, and if you're seeing it, like I kind of started off. I just bought like a nice red shiny Ferrari, and then kitted it up to the max. I spent all my money in one go, basically, and bought the nicest Ferrari I could afford, made it nice and red and shiny, and then took it for a ride. But yeah, like, you have to do that when you first get a car in this game. No, you feel that, you know, you kind of need to get the feel for it and just kind of pot around. But it's great bombing around the English countryside as well, right?
Yeah, and one of the reasons that I love the game so much is because of that skills bonus you get as you're just jumping around and crashing through fields and stuff. And one thing that I did notice, and it's one reason why I'm a little bit sad that Dan's not on the podcast today, day one, because you know it compares to how your friends are playing. Day one, I saw that Dan had a skill bonus. It was like 35,000 or something. And I went, I can do better than that. And this is within an hour. And I had like a 200,000 skill point thing. Nice. And I was still going. I was just like, this is going well. This is going well. And then I crashed and went, I lost it all. No. And then immediately went, I'm just going to find... I can
do it again.
Yeah, I'm going to do it again. Immediately. Wasn't disheartened at all.
I keep on going on like little runs while I'm going on route to a race, and then getting to the race and going, do I continue doing the skills while I've still got the bonus going, or do I actually stop now that I'm here at the race? And I'm really torn on which one to do. But yeah, like I don't know about you. I was kind of slightly worried that moving it from Australia to the UK would feel slightly restrictive. I don't know if it's because I am so familiar with the type of surroundings that they're recreating that it feels really nice and kind of almost comfortable and, you know, kind of homely almost kind of thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, there's something about that really adds to the enjoyment of it. But I also I think that the seasonal variation type thing that they give you a really nice taster of going in. Like there's in the opening part of the game, they literally go through all 4 seasons, like spring, summer, autumn, winter, and take you through like a bit of a section of a race and give you like a literal crash course in, you know, the differences between different things. I think that they show you like 4 different races and 4 different things going on in that. I think it's even more noticeable the first time you go from, say, autumn to winter, and you are going back to a racetrack that you've already raced on as well, no?
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Like, the other one is because the online as well. When you go online, it switches every week, and I noticed when the last season in the kind of tutorial 7 hours kind of thing to get your bearings is summer, and then when I went from summer to autumn, which was where the online portion was, I actually noticed very small things about the driving, and that, like, visually it looked stunning, but like wet leaves would get under the car and cause it to like kick out at the back and stuff, and it was really small details like that. And like now that it's just gone from autumn to winter, I believe, I'm really looking forward to exploring that as well, because like I said, because I blitzed through the first section, my winter season did not stick around long. because I just did like the races, like got really into it, and I didn't actually get to explore and drive as much as I wanted to. Can we talk about the Halo mission?
I haven't got to that yet.
I'm trying to be patient.
One thing, and this I'm testing you on a number of things here, Bleezey.
Mm-hmm.
Principally education. I think I'm right on this, but did you notice the constable painting?
The pardon?
The constable painting, the Haywain.
I know it's in there, but I did not notice.
Right, okay. There's a few times, and I think it's one of the races in that opening, like a barrage of 4. I think you go through it. It could be that, or it could just be an early race. But there, and it's also one of the kind of cutscene things when you're transitioning between places.
Yeah.
It shows you a little thing, and there's like a house, and there's a ruined wagon thing outside.
Okay.
Right, that is, a constable painting, basically. And called the Haywain. And yeah, I was like, oh, I recognise that. Where do I recognise that from? Oh my god, that's a painting! And now it's a race course.
I noticed a few things, like, because they did a lot of shooting for Avengers in Edinburgh. As I was driving around, I was like, oh, I know this street. I know this street because of this. I know this station because of this. So I've had, like, I've never been to Edinburgh, but like I felt like there were parts that I kind of knew my way around, kind of thing.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know if we will get more out of the English countryside setting than someone that hasn't visited it and doesn't know like how good a recreation is and how well they've done with that. And but I don't know about you. Like I liked visiting somewhere else in Australia, and it that felt like a fun holiday almost kind of thing. Whereas this feels much more, as I said, kind of homely and like a natural environment almost kind of thing.
Well, yeah, like for me, it's the southwest section of the map is actually based off places in the Cotswolds, like sort of non-specific towns, but like the look of the town and the stone cottages and like the trees lining the pavement and stuff. That is like the towns from where I'm from in Gloucestershire. So like I was kind of getting a bit of like, oh, this kind of looks a bit like Nailsworth or Painswick or like many other places you've never heard of. And so like when I was driving around in that, like I think one of the first missions you kind of get is to drive there for a movie set. And then as I was driving through, I realized how familiar it was. And I was like, I know it's not specifically this town, but it really feels like it. And then I drove into a tree.
Yeah, those like big kind of over the top bombastic missions. Like there's one I think is it one I recorded? I think it's the one against the hovercraft, maybe.
Yeah,
or it might have been the one against the motorbikes. I can't remember. But yeah, no, I think hovercraft was first. I think I did one of the other ones, maybe. Not sure. But anyway, but yeah, like I think they're really good. They add a nice kind of like they feel. I don't know. They feel like they kind of between those and the movie ones. It feels like that gives the game a bit more. Story's the wrong word, but kind of
direction.
Kind of
it's like a fun direction it takes.
Yeah, and a real word, and that gives it a kind of a much more like highs and low points. Whereas everything else would blend together a bit more. If it was just racing the whole time kind of thing, and they feel in keeping with the game. They still feel like they're a race, but they do feel. Like they did in previous games, they feel a bit like you can just see a bit behind the wizard's curtain and see that you're just racing against the timer, basically, kind of thing,
So I don't know how far you've got into it, but like after you've done all the showcase missions, after you've done all the movie missions, you get different things that like options that add up, and they're called Horizon stories, and they're essentially replacing the bucket list challenges from 3, where it's just drive to this place in a certain time or hit the speed trap at this thing, but they've got little story elements behind it. Like one is a business that you buy, and it's called World's Fastest Rentals, and essentially you're taking the rental car to the client as quickly as possible without damaging it. And the other one is there's like a drift expert that wants to see you drive, and like right. I've heard that there's one which is very Top Gear-esque where you're supposed to shoot footage for a TV car company and make it as entertaining as possible. So
okay, I thought the James Bond content was coming as DLC, but there seems to be James Bond cars already in the game.
I thought it was just like day one DLC. So.
Okay. I wasn't aware of it.
I've not actually used any of them. I found my favourite cars.
It seems like the stuff you can just straight up buy from the dealers, basically. That makes them sound dodgy, but car dealers is what I meant, not like backstreet dodgy alley dealers. But yeah, they seem to just be available. But I've only played for like one evening, and the servers were down for most of the evening. I was still able to buy the new Ferrari thing that I bought. That's part of the reason I experimented with doing so. But I couldn't get into the auction house, which I spent far too much time buying cars for cheap and possibly selling them expensively if I could, but generally just buying a nice collection of Ferraris and other exotic cars that came up for cheap in the auction house. I spent way too much time in the last game doing.
I did that in 3 because the Warthog wasn't it wasn't a car that was actually purchasable through the auto show. So loads of people would sell them for millions of like credits and stuff when they're actually worth like 800,000. So I'd be like, well, yeah, I'll buy this one for 900,000 and put it back on for 1.5 million and stuff. And so I've made a lot of money that way, and I'm really disappointed. The Warthog is now in the auto show for 800,000. I'm like,
850,000.
My scam is over.
They caught up with you, Bleezey. But yeah, like. Just generally though, I was just going to say, because we need to wrap up a little bit, but super fun, super enjoyable, really accessible, nice variety. There's like, the kind of fast kind of tracks and the kind of rally kind of tracks as well. Good mix for me. I prefer the rally side of things to the on-track side of things generally. But yeah, I still really enjoy the game. Glad it has a rewind button, as I said, kind of alluded to earlier.
I turned that off. You make more money that way.
You make more money that way, but like, it's actually less valuable in this than it would have been in Dirt Rally for me, because Dirt Rally is like a whole 10-minute stage. 8 minutes into the race, you've crashed, and like, okay, just you need to carry on, kind of thing. I'm like, no. But yeah, like, I still. And yeah, really enjoy that. Just for me, it adds to the enjoyment of the game because it means that I don't repeat the same content as much as I would otherwise. And that's exactly how I like to play this game. I don't like to fixate on getting the perfect corner and kind of, doing everything on that. I just want to kind of turn up, have a nice quick race, have a blast, have fun. But I also feel that means that I drive closer to the kind of, the red line, like right to the edge kind of thing, because I can absolutely razz it, and then if I do make a mistake, I've got that option there, basically. But anyway, yeah.
I just
fantastic
drift
game.
Everywhere. It's like any
good.
corner. If I don't drift it, I feel like I messed it up.
But yeah, really fun game. Definitely recommended. And I think you'd say the same, please,
Yeah. Current game of the year.
Oh, that high.
I was very biased to start with, and then they added a Halo mission. So, like, what was I supposed to do?
Be SpiderMan. That still being that in this anyway. But yeah, you did play some SpiderMans as well, I believe, very quickly. But just mention and
I'm borrowing it off my flatmate because I can't afford it, and I know I'm a bit late to the party. It's fun. I'm really bad at it, but I'm having fun.
It's actually hard. Like, you're actually quite fragile to start with until you've upgraded a few things and got used to a few of the combat systems and stuff like that. But look, I finished the game and I've still gone back for more. Absolutely love it. One of my games of the year. Yeah, really enjoyed. But anyway, have to cut you off there. Now, I've got one other thing to talk about, and we are running low on time. But Kev, did you want to say something particularly about Destiny, or is that just what you have done played?
No, I just play a lot of it.
But see, Dan was initially down on, is it the Forsaken? Is that the latest one? Latest update? What's your overall takeaway from that? Have you been a bit happier than he is, or...?
Yeah, I've been really stoked with it, but then again, I haven't been attached to the game since it came out a year ago, so I kind of jump back in when there's new content and hop out when I run out of content. Whereas
that's what I've been doing as well. It's like,
you may want to tell Dan that that's possible.
Nah, I mean,
he may not be aware.
The thing is, I don't hold it against him because everyone's got that game that they just go back to constantly, and it's just like their relaxer game.
I'm still not sure he should be playing it intravenously. I think that may be dangerous.
I mean, I at this point have I'm into like 2,000 plus hours of Diablo 3 plus
so,
God knows how much time I've put into the Souls series.
Him on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Right,
Destiny's not my game that I go back to constantly for good feels, but you know, other games are, so I'm not going to hold it against anyone that does. And yeah, it's really good. They've done a lot with Forsaken to sort of iron out the issues that plagued the vanilla version, and the vanilla version itself ironed out a lot of issues that plagued the first game. So it's just, you know, it's getting better, and that's the right direction.
Okay. Well, yeah, that is good. One day it may be a finished product. You never know. They may even find some time to polish up a bit of story and tuck it in there somewhere as well. Right. Yeah. I just very quickly, because I got to go last week to a new tabletop gaming event called Tabletop Gaming Live. This was in Ali Pali, or Alexandra Palace, is less colloquially known, which is very handily literally just down the road from me. I work in Muswell Hill, where this is based, basically, so it couldn't be any better located. It's, other than that, for most people, this isn't necessarily the best venue in terms of transport connections. So I was a little worried on that one, but they seemed to get enough people there, at least on the Saturday that I was there. It was nice and busy, especially for their first event. And other than the slight connectivity issues, it's a really nice event for this type of event. Ali Pali's got like really massive like stained glass windows and stuff, but it's really kind of airy and open. It's like big old Victorian building basically, but although it's been burnt down a few times, but yeah, like as I said, really nice venue for it. Like really like open and airy and light. Which is just what you want for a kind of a board game event, and I would say that kind of elevates it above most of the venues that tend to be in kind of, you know, your big venue type centres, but they tend to be like, you know, slightly, yeah, not quite as airy and light generally, not as naturally lit basically. And yeah, I know that sounds like a silly thing to go on for, but it actually makes a big difference when your games aren't backlit. Like, I know you're more like video gamers. We kind of like it in the dark. That's fine. And that works fine for video games, but for board games, it's actually nice to have natural light kind of coming in and stuff. But the event itself, yeah, like was a lot bigger than I was expecting as well. I was only there on the Saturday. Next year I'm definitely going to plan to be there on the Saturday and Sunday. They have announced that it will definitely be coming back next year. And yeah, I highly recommend it. It's the easiest one to get to if you're in London, but or easy as like some of the other ones in London. Bit bigger than Dragon Meet, which is a really good London event. But yeah, this one was on a slightly larger scale than that, I'd say. And this was only in its first year. So I do think this will grow and grow. It's also really nicely timed for the release schedule of games because, and you two, again, not being so much in your board games may not entirely realise this, but generally we're coming up to some of the bigger board game events in the year. There's one in Germany, one in America, and that's when a lot of the new games will be released in the run-up to Christmas as well. So a lot of the UK events, there's UK Games Expo early in the year and Dragon Meet later in the year. That's the two main ones that I tend to go to, and there's some more other regional ones in and around other areas of the UK that I haven't visited yet. But generally speaking, none of those are that well timed for the release schedule of those big games coming out. So this one was actually really good because there was actually some games there that are, you know, would normally have been announced at one of these big events, and then you wouldn't be able to play in the UK till a while afterwards, but they were there in previews and able to play, basically. I got to play an early prototype version of a game that's just come to Kickstarter. It was the Hunger Games, basically, board game. And I'm not the most massive Hunger Games fan, but that was quite an interesting game. Played a bit like Star Wars Armada, and was, yeah, area control type game with like character powers and stuff. But yeah, that was quite good. Also, just while we're mentioning Kickstarter, I wasn't actually at the event, but there's a Tomb Raider game just been announced and just out on Kickstarter as well, so you should possibly check that out if that's of interest. But yeah, like there was just a few other good games and things that I hadn't played before. Keyforge, which is one of the big ones that's getting a lot of buzz and is coming out later this year. That's a really interesting kind of. It's not quite a deck builder but you basically buy a deck, and that deck is completely unique. Like, no one else will have a deck exactly like that. And you can play against other people's other decks. And so you can buy, multiple decks and you can only play with that deck, but they will all be different to each other, basically, which is quite an intriguing prospect. And seeing it actually working in action was quite cool. I quite enjoyed it. Basically, you get, like, each character that you're kind of playing with has, like, 3 disciplines that they can play stuff within, and you can only play cards that match those disciplines, basically. But yeah, like I'll be really interested to see the final product and see how that works out. But the actual gameplay of that was a really good one-on-one card game, really quite interesting. So that's definitely one to keep an eye out for, basically. I said one-on-one, I think there might be multiplayer rules, or if there won't be, someone will modify it so there is. But yeah, like that was a couple of the major highlights. There was a lot more there to see. There was a lot of games like well represented. And yeah, as I said, really good event that I recommend going to next year if you get the chance. They also had some like developer sessions and talks and stuff, and I think they've put them all up online. So if you want to have a little bit more of a look at that sort of stuff, go to the Tabletop Gaming Live website. Yeah, there you go. Right, I think that is us, gentlemen. I will transition into some more tabletop stuff because I know how riveted you were by that just then. But yeah, basically, anyone that doesn't know, each and every Tuesday we do an event called Tabletop Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Dalston. And this, for anyone who doesn't know, each and every Tuesday we have a different feature game, and if you play that feature game that evening, you have a chance of winning a copy of the game at the end of the night. It's generally a very popular event. We get lots of people coming along, and we have loads of people in our meetup group. You can find out some more details on meetup.com, search for Tabletop Tuesday, or check the left hand corner of BigRedBarel.com, where we'll have more details every week of this week's game. This week's game is a game called Pyramid of the Sun. It's an easy to pick up and play, quick to play, like 2 to 5 player game. Should be good for everyone, and we've got some extra prizes in the form of fridge magnets with the beautiful artwork of the game on the fridge magnets as well. So yeah, come along and possibly win a copy of the game, and extra prizes this week as well, just for good measure. So yeah, come along and join us. Always a good night to do so. And thank you very much for all the people that have joined us in the last couple of weeks as well, basically. It's been pretty good. So thank you very much. Right. I don't know if these shout-outs are new or old, but I will rattle through them very quickly. Just a shout-out to Mr. Stealthy Joe. And he actually joined me at Tabletop Gaming Live, and we played an awesome game afterwards of a thing called Heavy Hitters, which is by Weta Workshop and has like 10-inch tall mechs type thing. Awesome game. Anyway, also from the Twitters, Norman Wazir and Freya Goodyard. Don't know if you already had shout-outs. I haven't checked them. Thank you very much for the people commenting, and actually commenting nice things on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much for the person that praised the questions in my interview. I was like, wow, that's a nice comment. We've had loads of views, and one really nice comment, and one generally okay comment kind of thing. And I was like, wow, YouTube, you're doing well today. But yeah, so we do have lots of YouTube content, so go and check that out as well. We've got like lots of interviews, and in case you didn't know, Coleman has been doing a fantastic job of putting up some captured footage of the games we've been talking about on the podcast. So if you check out the podcast version on YouTube, most of our normal episodes will have like different background gaming capture from the games we've been talking about as well. So different way to view and consume the show, so please do so. Without further ado, because we are running a little bit long, we should get out of here. Thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. There has been a lot of my voice in this week's episode, possibly more than is healthy for human consumption, but at least the two of you managed to water that down somewhat.
I've just been stuck in my own little dream world of not my voice.
I want to hear what it sounds like in your head, please.
Go play.
I do not.
Go play a game. That's probably safe, Kev. Just go play Forza Horizon, turn on Horizon Pulse, and then someone will come in every once in a while. She's got a very nice voice, and you know what? I'm gonna go get a selfie with her at some point. I'm gonna be like, this is how I think.
This is the woman that sounds like in my voice. This is what she looks like.
Yeah, I'll have thought of how to say it in a non-creepy way by then. But like,
I don't think there's any non-creepy way to say that. Hey, Mrs. Voice in my head lady, I like you and stuff. You're in my head.
So on the Coleman-less episode, I got mocked probably more than when Coleman was on.
See, I don't generally mock you, Bleezey, because I love you and stuff, and you're awesome. And I don't think you've been on since episode 300, have you? So I haven't publicly, on an episode, thanked you for how awesome your artwork was for episode 300. And the fact that it is now my Twitter background thing.
No problem. I should really make it mine. Mine's still like a gun that I designed at uni, and I've just realised a gun on Twitter is giving the complete wrong idea.
Yes, quite possibly.
I need to update that.
Go change that now. Because it looks good.
Anyway, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, and thank you very much, Mr. Kev, for joining us as well.
Always a pleasure.
Good to have you back in the podcasting saddle, sir. We will have to continue our journey onto some VRB adventures. We did actually get requests on Twitter for where the hell is the next episode of VRB? Someone said they'd given up listening to UK because they just wanted to hear us talk about VR. So, in your face, Dan and Coleman. Hey? Hey?
Yeah, fair enough.
Tim, you're not allowed to tweet it yourself. Okay, it was a weak joke. Look, like a sympathy laugh would have gone amiss.
It was a dummy account, and you're not supposed to reveal that on the show, okay? I'm not saying that the person that owns that account is a dummy. I was making a joke that it was a fake account that I set up.
Oh, terrible jokes on terrible jokes. Let's just keep building them up.
Let's just keep on stacking.
We can get another half an hour out of this.
Whole Jenga pile of crap falls down on us. Without further ado, I think that's the sign for us to get out of here, and Mr. Coleman will be very glad that is the case. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us for this here episode 312 of the BigRedBarel UK podcast. We'll be back next week, where I will hopefully be joined by Dan and Coleman again. Not so much that I didn't enjoy the company of these two fine gentlemen, it's just the other two help keep me in check a little bit more. So, it's probably good for everyone. But thank you very much, and we will see you all next week.
All right, catch you later.
Bye.
And your ears are quite welcome
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarel.com.
No, don't share that image.
No. It's not a bad image. It's not
image.
disgusting. It's not disgusting. I would describe it as I think this might have to be the episode art, Coleman, if you're listening.